Hey guys, so it's me, Nicolette, and today I want to talk a little bit about some of the books that I've read on personal finances that I really enjoyed. There will be some books that will creep in there that are not necessarily about personal finances, but really I think it's important that you read some of these. I know that you guys have been asking me to do this list, so finally I've created my own personal list that I really enjoy, and I hope that you guys can actually enjoy them too. But remember that none of my videos constitute as any financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please speak to somebody who is certified and registered with the FSEA. Just on that note, I won't go deep into why I actually like these books. Some of them I might, some of them I might not, purely because then this video will become the whole day, right? So first thing that is foremost, I think it's very important that if you are going to be understanding, if you really are going to be understanding what any of these books are actually saying to you, it is of utmost importance for you to actually understand economics. Now, I hated economics when I was in university purely because I never did it in high school. And when I got to Rhodes University, my father said, you need to choose between economics or mathematics. Now, first and foremost, I got a whole E in higher grade maths in matric. Now, who am I to think that I can do maths in varsity, okay? I walked in, I remember at Rhodes University, what they do is they allow you for the first week to go to any lecture that you want to go to. I sat in that maths lecture, and the lecturer came, wrote some long formula on the board, and said something towards the likes of, you learned this in high school. And I was like, I don't remember learning that in high school. But okay, so I gendered that mathematics class in varsity and I ended up doing economics. And let me tell you, again, I didn't understand whether it was a movement or a shift of the whole graph because it was really confusing for me. But then later on in my life, I started understanding that there are certain economics concepts that you need to understand so that you can assist yourself in understanding personal finances, right? So if you don't like economics and you're like me, don't worry. There are many people that really decode economics terms, things like opportunity cost, things like the economics of time, behavioral economics, why certain things are doing certain things, why if you want to invest in forex, why you need to look at this, the law of supply and demand. These things are really important and you need to understand them before you even start reading any personal finance books. But you guys know I can talk forever, so let me show you some of the best books. Now, the books that I don't have, that I have them as ebooks, the first book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, there's no reason for me to tell you why you need to read that book, right? That is one book that will clearly lay out the foundation of why certain things happen a certain way. So, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki is my first book. My second book is The Millionaire Next Door. It is by J. Stanley Thomas. Very important book. The one lesson that I really learned from that book is that it's not about how much money you make, it's really how much money you keep, right? So, I'll move on to the next book. The next book is Sophia Walker's Smart Woman. Really good book. Very easy to read, an easy read, easy to digest. Nothing complicated in it. The only issue that I might have with the book is that for me, it reads like any other personal finances. I'm not really hearing Sophia Walker's voice in that book. I'm just hearing her telling stories about, some of her clients that she's worked with and the principles of personal finance. If you are looking for a no fluff book, this is the book that you definitely should read. Straightforward, and it will tell you exactly what it is, right? The next book that I actually read first was From Debt to Riches by Uphumelelo Ndumo. Really good book, very practical. Depending on the edition or version that you've got, some of the laws have been outdated or they're not outdated, they've been updated, an amendment. One of those is the fact that she talks about how you can get a home loan more than what you actually need for your house and use that as cheap credit. Unfortunately, the laws have been amended, so you can't do that anymore. But a really great book, not just great book, but really inspiring to get you out of debt, right? The next book that I read for personal finances, purely because I was on the journey to buying property, and my belief in, as much as everybody's talking about diversify, I really believe in property. So the one book that I went out and bought was Jason Lee's Making Money Out of Property in South Africa. I love this book. Why? Because it's got a South African feel to it. He speaks like a South African. There's nothing complicated. He doesn't even say mortgage, guys. He says home loan or bond. That's what I really like about Jason Lee. This is a step step-to-step guide for buying property. It deals with your emotional intelligence. It deals with what you should be looking out for. So a really good book. And it's like a guide. So you can even start in creating your property stock files using this book. Hunch, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I know I'm doing it all wrong. Right. The next book that I read was by Zibu Masotobe, right? It's called The Personal Finance Revolution. It really is a revolution, guys, because she really goes into some really deep things that we don't actually want to look at or see, like the system, what's actually happening, the financial system, why you need to revolt. That was one of my best chapters. So it's a really good book. Also, again, very easy to read, very clear on what she's speaking about, nothing complicated in the book. A nice read. Again, also, the way she's written it makes it easy for bedtime reading. She's also got some really great examples in the book for, if you want to understand what she's actually saying. So if you are a pictures person, like my partner who doesn't order if there are no pictures on the menu, that's a really good book, right? The next one that I've been given recently, I stole from somebody, is The Richest Man in Babylon. I'm still reading it, and what I do generally before I read a book is I always go to Google and I look for lessons from the book's names, right? And then some of the lessons that I've gotten in this book are really absolutely amazing. So I think I will give this book chance. And it's funny because I haven't read this book, but a lot of people have read this book already who talk about personal finances, right? So I'm quite excited to read this book. It's really about just building your wealth. Really excited. Once I've read it, I'll come back to you guys and tell you what my feelings are towards this book, right? The next book is How to Invest Like Warren Buffett. Now, the reason why I got attracted to this book was really purely because we know who Warren Buffett is. We know what Warren Buffett has done, right? So you can't lose from reading some of his stuff. So what I do with this book generally is I always take Warren's lessons. Also, I'm only like a quarter into this book. I take Warren's lessons and I apply them to an African perspective. Yes, people are saying we live in a global world, you got to be globalized and whatever, globalization has taken over. I still believe that some things like wealth, because the wealth in this country and this continent is still a lot, we can always adapt them to a African feel, African solutions for African problems, right? And poverty apparently is an African problem, so let's fix it, right? The other one that I've read is Retirement. So this is not retirement just on a monetary level, but how to actually get more meaning from your money, right? So it's a good book. I've read a lot of it. It's a really good book to help you plan for retirement in a meaningful manner. And I've been saying this for a long time, guys. A lot of us are going to get hit by surprise when we get to retirement, right? Number one, all these investment products that you're taking up or insurance products, will you actually even be able to pay for them when you go into retirement? Number two, most of us are saying we're living hand to mouth. Now, if you're living hand to mouth and you still have the ability and you are still at the correct age to find employment or to find money-making opportunities, what will you look like when you no longer can do these things? So retirement is so important, guys, really important. And the last book that I absolutely enjoy, probably one of my favorite books, and I always reference it, is The 48 Startup by Frazier Doherty. Am I pronouncing his name correct? I hope so. This man has started so many businesses, and he talks about that there is no business that is original, guys. Copy and paste and do it absolutely amazing. But also he talks about the fact that you don't walk around not wanting to tell people what your business idea is. The reality is you probably are the only person that's got the guts to actually make that business work. And if you are not and somebody else does it, they also probably thought about it. No business ideas are that original unless, of course, you are a nudist Buddhist, right? And you're coming up with all these innovations that are really not timed correctly. For instance, Groupon was one of those where Groupon, when the first time it came through, really kind of flopped. And then the second time they did Groupon, really did well. But where's Groupon today? So yeah. Those are the books that I currently kind of tap back into, read, then reread and reread just to remind myself. But the one thing that I've noticed about a lot of personal finance books, they all sound the same. They all look the same. If you open the contents page on one, on the other, they all kind of have the same feel and the same thing. And I understand because money lessons do not change and the rules of money do not change. So generally you will get the same kind of things. But I do believe that how they are written and the perspective in which they are written is very important. And I'd like to encourage all other authors that are doing this to always tell the stories from their own perspective. The one other book that I really read that I don't have here is Manage Your Money Like a Fucking Adult. I'm sorry, that is really the title of the book, and it's by Sam Beck Singer. I can never pronounce her name. Really good book that you really should read. She even tackles black tax, guys, just to show you that black tax is not a black phenomena, right? It's not a black people phenomena. So read that book. That's also good. Very easy. It's almost like a study guide. It's like finance for dummies. Literally, that's what it is. Warren Ingram from South Africa also writes amazing books, also worth reading. But if you're not a reader, which is weird in 2019, YouTube is also good. Great. It's got great content, great videos. And sometimes what I do, if I'm lazy to read a book, what I'll do is I will then go and see if I can get lessons from that book. So it's something worth looking at. Mwah!